All right, the LILJ is back for another edition of the Weekly Crossbar Podcast. Ellis, Joshua, and Coach Wink coming at you, and we are back on a Friday. Coach Wink, how you doing here today?
Doing well, Ellis. Excited to talk about the week. Decided to talk about a little bit about what's about to come in the next 10 days. So we're ready to roll, baby.
Yeah, definitely got a lot upcoming for sure. And we were definitely busy during the week. And we're going to start going back to Monday. And on this Monday, we had a good old-fashioned rivalry matchup out in East Islip between East Islip and West Islip. And that was one of the games that we live streamed this week. And that's always a game that everyone in East and West Islip has circled on the calendar. We certainly did as well. And boy, did that game live up to the hype. That one was a 12-11 final in favor of West Islip in overtime. Four quarters, not enough to decide a winner in that game, but it was ultimately West Islip coming away with the win in that one. And it was Nick Henry who ended up being the hero for West Islip in overtime, scoring the game-winning goal. But what a matchup that was. And those two teams were essentially battling it out for the top seed in Suffolk Class B. And West Islip coming away with that win. So they still only have one loss on the season. And even though the weather wasn't so great, Coach Wink, definitely tough conditions to be playing under for sure. But it didn't matter. That was still just a great game, which was to be expected. And West Islip, got to give them major credit for fighting their way and coming away with that win because that game was really back and forth for the most part the whole way. West Islip did have a three-goal lead at one point in that matchup, but East Islip battling back. But in the end, West Islip coming away with a win. But what a game that was. That was a really, really fun game to be on the call for.
Yeah, it was a great game, and it was great to see two rivals play quality lacrosse. Unfortunately, one of West Islip's stars, Derek Buskin, was it Derek, right?
Yeah,
Got
Derek
injured.
Busking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he broke his collarbone, and
yeah.
that's on a beautiful goal, diving across the crease. It's real unfortunate. He'll be lost for the rest of the season. We send our best to him.
Yes.
The weather conditions were absolutely brutal. We were lucky enough to be in the press box
Yeah.
doing the live stream. We weren't on the field as
Yeah.
usual, but
Nice and cozy.
yeah, we were cozy. We even had the gal and the guys doing stats, so it worked out well for us. But I give the kids a lot of credit. I give the kid Alfano, who came in, the goalie who came in right in the second quarter and played
Yeah,
real
Jackson
well.
Alfano. Just a
So
freshman.
yeah, the kid's a youngster, but he did a great job. And the player of the games were obviously Henry, who had the game winner, Faulkner, who's a great LSM, Riley, who they were shutting him at one point because he was a problem. And Will Schwartz, who's a real good sophomore who will be getting a lot of looks this summer. And then the kid Lantieri. Lantieri played real well. But I thought it was a well fought game. We'll be seeing those guys again. Just in, I don't know if you heard this, my boy Ellis, but I got word last night West Islip got upset by Mount Sinai.
Ooh, breaking news. How
Yeah,
about that?
it was definitely an upset alert. Great job of Mount Sinai. I got to tell you something. The Mount Sinai boys have really done a good job. They're really putting together a good season, and they're going to surprise some people. So good for them. And we'll be seeing West Islip and East Islip again. I have a very strong feeling in the Suffolk Championship.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that we'll be seeing that matchup again for sure. And during that game, we were talking about it after the game, but for East Islip, I mean, Drew Walendowski, man, he really kept them in that game. 18 saves, just unbelievable.
He
Because
stood on his head. I mean, he
yeah,
definitely he
big
definitely
time.
kept that a game into overtime. They almost stole a game because of the goaltender. It was almost like
Yeah,
a hockey playoff game where you win the game, but you felt you got a little outplayed, but your goaltender kept you in it. And yeah, Drew played real well. He had a really good day.
yeah, definitely. So, like you said, would not be surprised if we end up seeing that matchup again in the county championship. But
Yeah. Tuesday we covered two games, right?
Yeah, so Tuesday we had our boots on the ground for sure. So we'll start over at Smithtown East where we had our guy Jack. He was covering Smithtown East against Connetquot. And you want to talk about a team that's really on a roll. How about the Connetquot Thunderbirds? They are on fire right now. And they won that game 11-6 over Smithtown East. So in that game, Carson Turacini, he had a big day and he's having a great season. He scored five. Then you had AJ Jafaris. He had one goal, also three assists. Colton Stellwagen, he was big in the cage with 15 saves. Lucas Weaver defensively had a really nice game. Nico Fitzgerald, he also had two goals with an assist. But Connetquot, they're having a great season. Got off to a bit of a slow start, but they've been on a roll. So that was, I believe, their 10th consecutive win, beating Smithtown East back on Tuesday. So they are definitely flying high as we approach the postseason.
Yeah, and they beat Huntington, right? Didn't they beat Huntington this
Yep.
season?
Yeah, they beat Huntington.
Yeah, so
That's
they're
a really
making
good win.
noise. Obviously, the big boys, Northport and Hills, are standing on the top of the mountain, looking down a little bit at the rest. But Connecticut and Huntington could make some noise. Huntington obviously went to OT with Northport, so we'll definitely see. Hoping to get a look at Connecticut, um, before the playoffs. But we're going to definitely get a good look at them in the playoffs because Connecticut, I think, is going to make some noise. Obviously, got a real talented team there, so looking forward to it. You traveled. I was off that day. You traveled to West Islip, which is like a home, a little bit of a home for you. You might have to get like a condo there. You've seen a lot of games in West Islip this year, huh?
Yeah, that was I think that was my third time going to West Islip this season. Third or fourth time actually. But but yeah, so I was there to see the girls. So they took on ESM and that was a 10-5 win for West Islip. That's another team that's really on a roll right now as the season comes to a close. So in that game, you had the Oblage sisters. They had a really big day. Ava Oblage, she was 3-2. Jenna Oblage was 2-2. Also, both Oblages making big plays defensively as well. Ava on the draw circle. And also for West Islip, you had Mia Nicolosi. She had two goals. Francesca Tefano, two goals. Also had a ton of ground balls for West Islip. Big defensive plays as well. Gagliardi, she had a nice day as well. And it was also their senior night, which I was not aware of that going into the game. So nice that they honored their seniors before the game and also post game as well. Got to give a shout out to the West Islip parents. They did a tremendous job. I was about to head out actually, and then they invited me into the building, and they had a little post game celebration, a lot of food, just a really nice job, really nicely done by the parents putting everything together. So they invited me in. Mrs. Gagliardi did super nice, like very nice of her. Could not thank her enough, and the West Islip team for having me in after the game. And they do speeches for the seniors. It's kind of a tradition that they do. So I was talking with Coach Nicolosi after the game, and he was just kind of telling me about the tradition that they've carried on for a long time now, and it's kind of just gotten like bigger and bigger every year. So that was really cool. But shout out to West Islip again. Can't thank them enough for having me in, and just a really nice thing that they do for their seniors. And
You
they
talk
have some
about
characters on that team. I got to say that for sure.
Well, everybody knows that that town has a lot of history in the sport of lacrosse. But one thing you gotta realize is that community is so important, and they show that they show how important community is, and both on the boys and the girls side. And we got to see both their boys and girls last week, which obviously was a great display. Another hot take coming in. Got my word from Jack, one of our journalists, last night. West Islip 10, Rocky
Yep.
Point 4.
I saw that. I saw that. That's a really good win. We know how good of a team Rocky Point is, but West Islip, they are certainly on a roll right now as the regular season is coming to a close. So they have their sights set on bringing home some hardware once again this season for sure.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how that all shakes out. Obviously, West Islip and Smithtown West on the top of the heap in Suffolk, and I'm very curious to see how that shakes out this year because West Islip, not a lot of seniors. I mean,
No,
Nicolosi, Gagliardi, Zipolitis, but not a lot. While Smithtown West has a ton of seniors.
yeah, they have a lot. Yeah, West Islip, they have six seniors, I believe. So yeah, not a lot. Nicolosi's actually at 26, so she's coming
Oh,
up.
you got another year with her
Yeah,
dad.
yeah. She'll be back.
Yeah, not enough is said about Joe and Joe Nicolosi and Brian Cameron, who've been coaching West Isa for a bunch of years. What a great job they do with that program. I get to watch them a lot. I've seen them for years, and I think they do a great job. Obviously, Joe puts a lot of time in, and so does Brian. And shout out to those guys because those coaches do a hell of a job. Um, we were lucky enough to catch a Harborfields Westhampton game, and the next day. And I thought that game turned out to be a closer score than I guess it felt.
Yeah, yeah, towards the end because Westhampton, they had a relatively comfortable lead towards the end of that game. I think the lead at one point it was 12 to 6 or 12 to 7, and then Harborfields they ended up storming back to make it a close game. Ended up being a 12-10 final, so a late rally by Harborfields, but Westhampton able to hold on in the end to get that win. So in that game, Reese King, she was 2-3, had a highlight reel goal that we we couldn't keep quiet when we were watching that because we said
Sweet.
that was Sports Center top 10 worthy. What
Yeah,
a
sweet.
yeah, what a highlight on the shovel shot by Reese King. That was a sick play. But of course Reese always stepping up in big games. So she was 2-3. Also, of course, commanding on the draw circle. Maya Bugel, she had a hat trick. She was 3-1. Sophia Amademo also poured in 3 goals as well. So did Regan Schindler. So they got plenty of contributions from a handful of players did Westhampton in their win. Um, Also, Mia Brown getting the start in that game. Maya Farnan not available due to an injury in that game, but Mia Brown getting the start, and that's big. And Westhampton, they have a big game coming up today. They're playing Smithtown West.
Ooh,
So we'll see if Mia is playing in that game as well, or if Maya is back. But that's a big game. Two contenders for sure in Class B and Class C.
interesting. Very interesting. And their 27s obviously going to start their process this summer. And a kid that really impressed was the Reagan Schindler kid, who I thought played really well and is really coming into her own. We've
Yeah.
obviously been on the Mia Brown bandwagon, but Schindler, coaches out there, if you're listening, check this kid out over the summer. She can play. She can definitely play. So shout out to Westhampton. Good win. They're going to be interesting to watch coming into the playoffs. That was Wednesday night. Obviously, we're doing this podcast Friday morning early because Coach Wink's heading out of town for a family wedding. But last night was a very interesting game. I thought they had a couple real good Sports Center moments.
Yeah.
Both teams, Southside and Manhasset. We did a live stream and a game of the week. Ellis, you could take us through that game because you did the uh, color for that with our boy Quigley, Mr. Quigley. That's the play-by-play guy who's awesome. You'll be seeing that guy probably doing play-by-play professionally at one point in his life.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Travis Quigley. Really enjoy being on the call with him. And we had a good one last night between two of Nassau's contenders, between Manhasset and Southside, over at Darcy Field, right by Hempstead Lake Park on Peninsula Boulevard. Nice scene. And that ended up being a victory for Manhasset, 10-8. So that's a very quality win for them to close out the regular season. But that was another game where it was back and forth. That was really anyone's game up until the end. But definitely want to shout out Elam Yang. She had a big time game with 3 goals and an assist. Harper Lambert, she was 2-1. Lilia Sarah 1-2. Audrey Shen defensively, the sophomore, she had some big plays for Manhasset. She had a couple of plays actually, one in particular that stood out where she was able to force a turnover, ball hits the ground. She was first to the ground ball, and it ended up igniting transition for Manhasset, and just a textbook play that ended up leading to them scoring a goal. But I thought Audrey Shen, she had a couple of big plays that were really, I thought, difference-making plays, in my opinion, in that game to kind of keep Southside at bay. Because that game, like I said, was kind of back and forth, but for the most part in the second half, Manhasset was able to hold the lead and not relinquish it. And I thought Audrey Shen, the sophomore, played really well on defense. And in the net, Cassiopo, she was hot early. You could kind of see that she was seeing the ball very well, and she had a really nice game, racking up 11 saves. So Ruby, no surprise, stepping up in a big game. She did just that last night. But just a really fun game to be on the call for. Again, two teams that have had really good regular seasons, and we expect to see them both making serious noise come the postseason. But a really fun game to be on the call for last night.
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to Manhasset. I thought, I mean, obviously under a new coach, Coach Campy has done a great job, but I think you could see his imprint on the team a little bit more. We saw them earlier against Cold Spring. They were
Hmm.
sharing the ball so much better last night. Their team play offensively. I wouldn't be surprised that on the 10 goals, 60 to 70% of them were assisted. So
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
they did such a great job sharing the ball. And I think if that team shares the ball the way they did last night, they're gonna give a run to GC. And they need to do that. They need to realize because GC's really good defensively, and that's gonna be their biggest issue getting. I mean, they got to get past Long Beach also. Don't get me wrong. They
Yeah,
lost to
yeah.
Long Beach.
I was gonna say that Long Beach, they had the upper hand against them in the regular season.
That's
So,
a game I want to see because that's going to be the semifinal game.
hmm
And we'll be covering those. There'll be the semifinals, which is great, and the girls at Adelphi.
hmm
I look forward to those games where we get back-to-back games and we get a bunch of games because we get to see really quality teams and obviously quality lacrosse players. But the LB Manhasset rematch,
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
yeah. That's gonna be a huge game, obviously, and yeah, that's what makes it interesting this year with Manhasset being back in Class B. You don't necessarily have the foregone conclusion of a Garden City Long Beach County final, which we've had for the last 3 years. So can't wait for the playoffs to get going. Some of these matchups are really going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, we're gonna post. We're gonna be posting the playoffs as they come out. The National season is not ending till next week, to the end of next week. So once they come out, we'll have them on social and we'll have them on our website. So feel free to obviously reach out, watch it, go support your community, and watch the games. It's funny. College coaches are now coming to Long Island. We were talking to a few that were in town yesterday, and they're starting to come because the teams that didn't make the tournament are obviously now starting their recruiting process.
Yep.
So, shout out to the 26s and 27s that are looking to get recruited and just keep working hard. I got to tell you, the boys and girls on Long Island, this is an exciting time for them. They get great opportunity. I got some emails late last night. The Hills boys are rolling, beat
Yeah.
Floyd 21-6.
Yeah, saw that. They are cruising this season. They are absolutely cruising.
Yeah, stay focused.
Still undefeated.
Those coaches, Connor, Paul, and Justin, have done a great job with those boys, and they're really locked in. Those guys. So shout out to Hills. I think you're going to see some. I mean, you got four really good teams in the A. That's going to be a great semifinal. I wish Suffolk did it like Nassau. I really do. I wish they just took
Oh,
one set. You know what I mean?
you're talking about like with the power conference, you mean?
No, I mean the way they do the playoffs. It's
Oh,
like
the playoffs. Okay.
you're not benefiting the young men and young women if you don't put more teams together. You
Right.
all these great high schools, all that could host it. You don't
Hmm.
have to host just a championship. You
Yep.
gotta the educators that are involved in this have to start looking at what is the goal. When you're an educator, your goal is to help them get into college. Well, if you're in the athletic side of it, give them opportunity where coaches, you could get 10, 15, 20 coaches to a semifinal game like they do on the Nassau side, They're all
Yeah.
sitting up in Hofstra watching these kids play, and it's really helping these kids get recruited. And I mean, the educators, and they've made a lot of mistakes with not putting them together, putting it on
Yeah.
dead
They,
periods.
yeah, also like I was talking about this last night with Jack, how you have in Suffolk the county finals for boys and girls on the same date over at East Islip and Smithtown West.
You
It's
want
like
to, you want
just
them to support each other.
yeah, now you lose the support, especially if you have a school where you have both your boys and your girls playing in the county championship, which you could easily have that in West Islip. You
You
could
might even have it in
even
West Islip and Sayville or Bayport. Last year it was in
right.
Bayport, and you
Yep.
and you you got to think about things like that. You got to be more concerned. I always say, if you think about the client here is the student,
Yep.
right? So let's take care of the student, and we don't have to do it. You don't have to do it at a college. I was talking to the East Islip AD. Okay, they offer them a stipend. They don't even take it. They want to host it. They're great. He's a great dude. Okay. All these schools, they got great ADs. Smithtown's got Lambert.
Yep.
Okay. These ADs are awesome. So start thinking about the kids
Yeah.
and stop thinking about things that don't. I mean, Nassau has some games on the dead period.
Yeah. That's
It makes no sense.
yeah, that's not the move.
Yeah, you gotta evaluate it because when you college coaches love seeing these kids in their high school setting because it's the closest setting to a college team because you practice forever with your high school. It's a system. That club is not the setting that gives them the best look at that athlete. You
Hmm.
could see a kid. I mean, Audrey Shen's the perfect example last night. You
She was
saw that
awesome
kid
last night.
step up, right?
She was great.
Great. She showed great, and she would have gotten recruited from last night.
Yeah.
So let's start to evaluate that as educators and think about those things. I don't know what they're thinking about. I mean, the gaps between the games, the
Yeah.
gap between the start of the playoffs. I mean, I
Yeah.
talked to the coaches. All the coaches are infuriated by the scheduling. Who are they talking to when they're doing the scheduling? The
Yeah,
coaches should be the ones they're talking to.
there's just a lot about it that really doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, it infuriates me. It absolutely infuriates me. Let's get together as a group so that we can better help the student athlete. That's the goal, right?
You
And
have to
have
put
them
you have to put the student athlete first and foremost.
100%. So that means give them opportunity, give them the most opportunity, and you're giving them the beautiful venues. East Islip
Oh yeah.
is like a mini college that setting.
Yeah, East Islip is a great venue. Smithtown West, another really good venue.
West Islip,
West Islip hosted last year, another great spot.
there's plenty of great venues.
Yeah.
Westhampton just put in new stands, beautiful.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to go out to Westhampton and watch lacrosse? You and I love it. If it wasn't such a long hike, we would be there every day. It's beautiful, right?
Oh,
Bayshore
it's
has a beautiful stadium.
gorgeous.
There's so many high school. Northport's
Yeah,
beautiful,
Northport is great.
and it
Ward
has
Bundle.
and it has two turf fields, so you could be
Yeah, that's
warming
true.
up on one turf
Yep,
field while the game's going on.
definitely.
Come on, guys, let's get together. This is simple stuff. It's just better planning and doing what's in the best interest of the kids. I'll leave you with that because I got to go make a plan.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about. But that's gonna do it for this week's episode of the Weekly Crossbar. Ellis Joshua and Coach Wink, we're signing off, but we will talk to you next week. Thanks for everyone that tuned in.